Peace, family. Abargani, Islam, Salam, Hetepu, Rahubat, Gino Laco Ninani, Chief Noble, Bandele Elamine, back again on the scene with another video. And today's video, we are going to get into politics, or should I say, politricks, as you know it. So we're going to be dealing with what we call the video title is The Dog or the Wolf. And that's based off of Malcolm X speech or lecture video he did, okay? Which we're going to show a piece of that. Before we get into any of that, please like the video, subscribe, and share this video to everyone you know, okay? So, with that being said, I want you to check out our new latest website, indigenousmoors.org. It is your one stop shop for your indigenous needs, okay? If you're a member of the temple, you can donate here. If you're not, hey, if you like to donate, because we need donations. But if you like to donate, you can always donate. Come to the site, donate there. Uh, like I said, it's got everything. If you want to check out our books, it's got my books. It's got King El Bay books. It's even got brother Ma'at Ra. Okay, I'm in Ma'at Ra books, and it's going to be growing. I'm going to be putting everybody's books on here, so y'all keep checking back for more books. We're going to put all of our books are going to be on this site, but you can come here and get some of our books, our products, and you can also, one thing you can get here is the law library. So if you are studying and you need, to know certain things about the law, if you need to know about certain codes, procedures, or acts, like you can go here. Okay, so check out the law library. It's got the treaties. It's got legal literature. You can unregister how to unregister your car if you're trying to do that, all that, okay? So it's really the one-stop shop. So check that out. And also, if you want to, you can also go to Amazon.com and you can pick up all of my books on Amazon. The latest book right now is Navigating Melanated Love and Relationships in the Modern Era. Okay? So you can check that book out. If you guys are single and you're just trying to figure things out, please check out this book. Okay. So with that being said, what we're gonna get into today, like I said, is about politics. One thing about melanated, aka black people, is we have always been on the far end of understanding what's going on in the politics. And we always talking about voting and this and that, and we're always talking, and it seems like we're stuck in the Democratic side. So we are stuck in this pot of liberalism, and we're generally, if we're not a Democrat, they call you a sellout. If you're a Republican, you're a sellout. A lot of people claim to be independent, but they still vote Democratic. They still liberal, even though they say they claim to be independent, right? So what we want to do today is we want to kind of break up this myth of this democratic dream that we have, and we want to look at these candidates. We want to look at uh, Joe Biden, and we want to look at Donald Trump, and we want to show how they really not that much different, and why are we so caught up on the Democratic side? Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show this video of Malcolm X where he was being interviewed, or he was kind of like in a, I want to say a debate, but he is describing about liberalism. So I want you to look at this because what he says, you will find it very striking, resembling what is going on today. All right, so check it out.
I'd like to point out, though, that
And I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
I would agree that no doubt there have been a large number of whites who have posed as liberals and as friends of the Negro and who have time and again betrayed the Negro.
This ain't a deep fake. That's Malcolm speaking on these issues in 1963. And so right now in 2024, we're going into this another year of election year. And once again, I hear the blacks, the so-called blacks, uh, you know, talking about voting for Joe Biden and that he's the best choice we got to show, and for our equality. And the liberals come around this time of year to help, get us to vote, and they start doing their little black dance. So, we got like um the vice president. We got pictures floating around with her, you know, with hot sauce. She's putting hot sauce on her food. And so like these type of little tricks that we fall for. This is what melanated people always fall for. They fall for the small things that the democratic people do that are familiar to us, and we go for it. It reminds me of when Bill Clinton went on Arsenio Hall show and played the saxophone. How fast people jumped on him and said, "Oh, he's the first black president," because the man played a saxophone on Arsenio Hall show. That is how shallow a lot of melanated, aka black people, are when it comes to voting. They're not really uh, educated on the issues that seem to happen. So what we gonna do is we gonna get into this. Now, like I said, I'm not here to say that uh, you should vote for Trump or vote for Biden. Both of these men are, Albions, and they are both. They're both have issues. Okay, they're both, you know, evil or whatever you want to call it. Both of them have their issues. Okay, so this is not to, you know, necessarily put one over the other. It's really to bring a clearer vision to melanated people. Okay, even if you are going to vote for the president, at least see it from a clearer vision. So what I want to do first is let's look at what it is that we're dealing with. Now I got this picture from B Dale 1014 off his site, right? I watched his video because I've been wanting to do this video. If you guys maybe have even noticed, I've had this video ready to be scheduled for probably over a month. Okay, and I just didn't get to it. I was like, I need to have everything that I need to make sure that I present these things to the best of my ability. Okay, and when I saw B Dale video, like you guys go watch it, but he breaks this stuff down, and I'm gonna go in a slightly different direction than brother B Dale, but I do appreciate this. I do appreciate this picture that he has. Okay, so we're gonna look at it because this is what's going on. We got the so-called black people all up in the far left's buttocks. All right, they all up their ass, and they've been up their ass for 50, 60, 70 years. Okay, pretty much probably since FDR, right? So-called black people have been riding the donkey for almost 100 years. And what we have is on the far left, we've got Agenda 21. So we're going to look at Agenda 21. But before we get into that, we're going to look at this diagram. Agenda 21, the 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 donkeys, the fox, if you will, okay? The fox, because they're the slick ones. They're the ones that like to grin in your face, but all the time they really want to take your place. They are working on the deep state. If y'all heard that, I know y'all have heard that, especially a lot of conservatives, or you got QAnon spreading about the deep state. You got the deep state, the shadow government, all these things, okay? The liberalism of the democracy is dealing with the socialism, Marxism, communism, okay? Transhumanism. What is transhumanism? Transhumanism is allowing people who want these pronouns, or people who are part of what we call the rainbow. Those people are transhumans. The liberals tend to protect those people. Okay, you can say whatever. I'm not here to like to discredit those people or anything like that. I'm not saying like, and when I say those people, I'm saying like people who practice um, out of that rainbow. I'm not here to I'm not here to get into it with them, because they're not the issue. It's the agenda behind them that is the problem, and they are just being used, just like we were being used, just like so-called black people are being used in their system. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we tend to roll with the Democrat, and we watch transhumanism, and we may not even like what transhumanism is, but we roll with them anyway, and that's the problem. But it's not just them, right? See, like I said, I'm not here to put one over the other, because we got the far right. So for me, I always say it's best to be in the middle. I mean, like zero out. Too far, if you're too far left, you're too far right, you got these extremisms. And so with these extremisms, you see like the Project 2025. So you got Agenda 21 over here on the left, you got Project 2025 on the right, and Project 2025 is really no better than Agenda 21. It's just a different angle. Now you got, because you got the conservatives, which are very religious people. So you got conservatives, and that equals fascism. What's the difference between fascism and socialism and Marxism? These are all these ism words. Okay? They're very similar. You got militarized police state. The far right is very into militarizing the police. They've been doing that for a while. So you got, eventually you're going to have a police state. Then you've got ultra nationalist Christians. And so you got, in the conservative movement, we all know that the conservative movement is very Christian, and they have these hardcore religious views that they want to dictate the policy of the United States. So they're always pushing Christian ideology into politics. Okay. So if you notice, like, any president, particularly a conservative president, he has to address the religious right. They call that the religious right, because they are very popular and powerful in the far right. And you have, so with that being said, these Christians pretty much don't have a high tolerance for any other religious group. And so, with that being said, they want a one world religion, which is Christian. Totalitarian or totalitarianism, okay? But totalitarian is the NWO, New World Order. At the end of the day, both sides are looking to create the end goal, and that's New World Order. So these two intersect, okay? Totalitarianism, okay? Authoritarian, mass surveillance, and economic intervention. So at the end of the day, you're going to have uh, it's coming from two sides of the angle. So my thing is this: why are we constantly staying within these two political parties? Now I know we got third party political parties. I understand that there's always a third, maybe even a fourth, smaller political parties. But we also have to realize that this has to be looked at and changed. Okay, so let's get into it. All right. So let us continue on this. So let's look at what I'm talking about. What is Agenda 21, right? All right. So Agenda 21, what do we have here? Agenda 21 is a real deal thing. So let's look at Agenda 21. The plot exposed in the New York Times and the Grist or the Christ. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at this for a little bit, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. So in this, it talks about the Republican National Committee has passed a resolution on the subject, quoted in the New York Times. So it says the United Nations Agenda 21. Now understand this: Agenda 21 is brought up by the United Nations, so it's not just something that's national. It's not a agenda just for the United States. We're talking about New World Order, so this is really a global agenda, okay? And it's spearheaded by the United Nations, but it's a plan to it's the Agenda 21 plan of radical, so-called sustainable development views, the American way of life of private property ownership, single family homes, private car ownership, and individual travel choices, and privately owned farms, all as destructive to the environment. Okay, so understand what they're saying with this. They're saying that private property is a fundamental right of American people. The right to life, liberty, and property. Property used to be, so-called black people. You know what I mean? So I mean, the United States has always, been about property, private property, ownership of these things. Okay, single family homes, all these things that we as Americans look up to. They're saying they're bad for the environment. So because they're bad, because they're saying that it's bad for the environment, they're using that as a way to get rid of it. Okay. So we say not funny. Okay. Grice thinks it's very funny and illustrates the story. A paranoia strikes deep. The GOP exposes dangerous UN's sustainability. So the GOP, we know what that is. The grand old party, the GOP, are against the Agenda 21. Okay. So they're going to make this push. Okay, so now they're going to make it like it's a conspiracy. So this is how the system always tries to um, derail people when they trying to figure out the truth. They will they will say, "Oh, you're crazy, conspiracy theory." So they got here talking about the sustainable plot with tinfoil hats. So these people with the tin hats on. Okay, but this is it. It's not funny. There is a growing anti-transit, anti-smart growth, anti-preservation, and pro-property right movement that is becoming a serious threat. In the earlier post, which we didn't get into, I listed the things that they object to in Agenda 21, which include smart growth, wildlands project, resilient cities. What is a resilient cities? We have to get into that. Regional visiting projects, green jobs, green, 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 going green. This whole going green, I'm not like against trying to save the planet per se, but for what it is, they're using the green as a means to create their agenda. That's what I think is being said. So, um, so let's get into the meat of this. Not just the Republican National Committee. So not just them, but I think that about the only people who actually read the post were Agenda 21 conspiracy theorists who are dead serious and convinced that it is really a method of advancing socialistic control in an attempt to steer us toward some micromanaged, globally focused eco Marxist utopia. Okay? Nor were they all environmentalists, okay, Tea Parties. So it's not just the Tea Party people, the Republican Party in general is kind of against it because of some of the ideas. Now, look, now listen to this. This is where we're going with this. As a liberal Democrat, okay, I can tell you that this is not just about putting solar panels on your roof and insulating your attic. Listen, it's about restricting civil liberties, domestic surveillance, smart meters, and limiting food independence, your water rights, property rights, individual rights are being abridged through the implementation of the UN 21, the UN agenda. The environmental movement has been hijacked. Okay, so this is what we're saying. It's not about uh, the trying to clean up the planet because who? Let's say let's be for real. Who is really against having a clean planet? Nobody. And there are people that's been talking about environmentalists have been speaking about changing the way things are done for for decades. Okay, but it says here, this is the thing, they hid in things that were really good. So the system, the powers to be, would they will use the seeming like very real ideas, very good ideas that seem to be um, something that we need to do. They will hijack it. So they hijack the environmental movement. And then it says your refusal to see and need to make this a left right thing is making it easier for your government to regulate and control you. Okay? There are even Democrats against Agenda 21. Okay? Even Democrats. So even though this is on the liberal side, there are some, Democrats that are not as liberal as they would think. So it's saying that these Democrats say, in a nutshell, the plan calls for governments to take control of all land use and not leave any of the decision making in the hands of the private property owners. It is assumed that people are not good stewards of their own land, and the government will do a better job if they control or in control. Individual rights in general are to give way to the need of the community as determined by the governing body. Moreover, people should be rounded up off the land and packed into human settlements or islands of human habitation close to employment centers and transportation. Okay, all that crazy stuff. Okay, so there is something going on. The Agenda 21. If you guys have not heard of it, do some research. Okay, because I'm cherry picking, right? But I'm just giving you what's going on, and we're talking about the Democrats, the left, but they're not the only ones, right? They're not the only ones out here trying to do this. See, because the system, the powers, the all of the power structure, the ones over all of this that's making the chess moves, they're playing both sides of the chessboard. Okay, so you got both sides, which is the left and the right, are being controlled and maneuvered by the chess player themselves. And so they make it a left and right thing, and you hear, the right talking about Agenda 21 is bad. So then they come up with their own. They come up with Project 25, right? Let's look at it. The right has a terrifying second Trump term plan called Project 25, right? So they want to use Trump as the way they use Biden and Obama to create to facilitate and move forward Agenda 21. They're going to use Trump or others to facilitate this Project 2025. Okay. So what we got here is this. Among all of these planning efforts, Project 2025 was launched in April 2022 under the leadership of the Heritage Foundation. So y'all look up at the Heritage Foundation. It stands out much and unites much of the conservative movement and the machine of think tanks, as well as activists and lobbying groups behind the goal of installing a more effective, more ruthless I said white, but that's what right wing regime. As members of the advisory board, Project 2025 currently lists over 100 organizations and institutions. It's the who's who of right wing actors. Okay, so you got the right, the extreme right coming together. Project 2025 is a plan to execute what amounts to a comprehensive authoritarian takeover of the American government. Broadly speaking, it envisions a vast expansion of presidential power over the executive branch. So they want to, so if Trump gets back in office, right, they want him to have more executive power. So a lot of people, so the left, they're going to say, oh, they're trying to destroy the presidency. They're trying to create a monarchy or a rulership class, a authoritarian system. They're going to basically dismantle our old system. Okay. Um, so it says Project seeks to dismantle certain parts of government and administrative state parts of the government, the administrative state, and federal agencies, while simultaneously mobilizing and weaponizing others. And finally, Project 2025 is a promise to purge from the government anyone who is not all in on the Trumpist project and replace them with loyalists and ideological conformists. So you got these ideological conformists, it says. So, in other words, Project 2025 consists of four pillars: agenda, policy agenda, spelled out in a 920-page report that they published last April, called The Mandate for Leadership and Conservative Promise, a personal database intended to build an army for the loyalists, a training effort that currently consists of online courses they call Presidential Administration Academy to get these loyalists and all political appointees ready to implement the right wing agenda. And finally, the playbook of actions to be taken in the first 180 days of the new administration to bring quick relief to Americans suffering from left devastating policies. Okay, so like we said, you got the left, they got the Agenda 21 that they've been pushing. So they got their 2025 that they gonna push out the Agenda 21. So it's a tug of war on what's going to be the new world order, what they're going to use. Ultimately, in my opinion, they're going to combine the two together. They're going to take. They're both going to win. They're both going to win because one side is going to take components that have been entrenched in society that they're not going to be able to pull out. They're just going to take it and bring it into their side and just maybe modify it, but they can't get rid of it. So you're going to have that go on. So I think ultimately the parties will, one of the, either party is going to combine the other party's agenda at some point. And that's just my opinion. Okay. What are some concrete examples of what Project 2025 participants plan to do? We've heard talk examples of Schedule F stripping 55,000 civil servants of their jobs to install loyalists in their place. Is this a credible threat? Okay. So this is the agenda that they're going to use under Trump. Okay. Right now we are under Biden and the Agenda 21 because Joe Biden wants, for green, clean air, allegedly under the guise of this new green movement. And he's using the green movement to create that oligarchy system. And the right is not for that. They want their own system. They got their own new world order. So I'm trying to let y'all see that y'all playing a dangerous game out here, thinking that Biden is better than Trump. Trump is better than Biden. Okay, we're playing a dangerous game. I'm just here to expose both sides. Okay, because I hear by Democratic so-called black people bashing Trump as if Biden is not doing it itself. They claim that Biden is the lesser evil. They claim that Biden has done all this stuff for black people. At least he's tried to do this and that. That's the other issue. So I really want to get into that as well. Okay. But before I get into that, because we're talking about these things in the New World Order and things of that nature. Now, I'm not going to get too far into that. Y'all are going to have to do your research. But if y'all know anything about New World Order or about anything of so-called the Illuminati and all these things, if you studied any of this stuff, then you have to be familiar with certain private organizations that have a a heavy influence on domestic and international policies, foreign, what we call foreign policy. We got the Bilderbergs, Trilateral Commission, and the one we're going to talk about is the Council of Foreign Relations, CFR, if you will. Now, you guys do some research on the Council of Foreign Relations. Okay, they're a private organization that has a big stake and claim in dealing with foreign policy. So you got private people that are really wealthy, very wealthy individuals come together, create a private organization that is to influence foreign policies for their benefit. Okay. So they're outside. This is private, right? Y'all understand private? Private is, uh, not governmental. So these are not necessarily government. Okay. So we're going to look at look. This is the members of the Council of Foreign Relations. So, like, if you're a member of the Council of Foreign Relations, then you have aligned yourself with whatever agenda the Council of Foreign Relations has. Now, like I said, if y'all know somebody or y'all know, like I said, the Council of Foreign Relations is always part of the conspiracy, if you will, of New World Order. They are part of New World Order. So what I'm gonna show you guys, like, I'm not like, look, all these people. Look, I'm trying to find somebody in particular. Adam Silver is part of the CFR. Okay, I'm just showing you. This is what they showing you, and that's not even who I'm looking for. Look, all these basketball. David Stern was part of it. So you got all these big wigs. Look, a CIA director, right? All these big wigs. And I ain't even got there yet. We slowly going through it. You guys make a pause. Y'all might have to pause it. This is what we get into. Notable historical members. Okay. You got people like Howard Baker, who was under Ronald Reagan. This is what we're looking for, y'all. Look who's a historical member of the CFR. You got jumping Joe Biden. Okay. He been a member. Okay. So look at who's the president. The president of the United States is under that. Now, I will say this. I look for Trump. If y'all can find Trump in it, then let me know. Because that's one of the first things I did was I was like, oh, all these presidents are part of it. And I'm gonna give you my theory about Trump after we go through these things. But jumping Joe Biden is a member of the CFR. So I just want y'all to take that into consideration before we get into all this. Jumping Joe Biden is part of the CFR. Okay. So now that we got that out the way, let's look at some other stuff because we talk about uh, Joe Biden and the thing that what Malcolm said in the beginning of this video is that the white liberal, shows up. Um, he shows up at election time with these deceitful things. They're going to help the black community. They're going to do this and do that. And if y'all remember, Joe Biden, he had a lot of things that he wanted to do for black people, right? So let's look at let's look at it. Let's look at what Joe Biden has done because this is the argument that, so-called black people are always throwing in your face that how much Biden has done for black people, and he's done more than Trump has, right? So we got these two Albions that we arguing about, right? It says, has Biden kept his campaign promises? And this is from Capital B. This is more like a so-called black uh, uh, site, right? So it says, has Biden kept his campaign promises to the black Americans? It says the answer is complicated. So let's look into this. Okay. Look at what read. Let's read this real quick. I'm gonna jump on to something else. Jump further in. Black Americans were largely responsible for delivering the president to Joe Biden in 2020, and the debate over whether he's delivered on his campaign promises is endless. Yet, with this year's November showdown between the former president Trump steadily approaching, the options for us are limited. Okay, so let's look at this. So let's look how good he's done for blacks and everything. Let's start with job and economy. The promise that he made was the same month that Biden was sworn into office, he inherited a rocky economy. Yeah, we know COVID did destroy the economy. They planned it out for whatever purpose. We're not gonna get into that. But COVID did wreck the economy. It was not necessarily Trump that wrecked the economy, but he inherited what happened to the economy under COVID. It says with a national 6.3 unemployment rate, at least 10 million officially unemployed workers, although this was slightly decreased from previous months. The black unemployment rate was 9.2. So you understand that the black unemployment rate is always higher than the national unemployment rate. Okay. So what work was done? To help ease the economic burden of families, Biden sent $1,400 checks to households and gave them some support to small businesses of color through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. His administration also extended unemployment eligibility and benefits. From March 2021 to March 2022, the economy added 7.2 million jobs, with up to 4 million from the rescue plan. Okay, not too bad, I guess, right? I'm not here to I'm not here to dog bite, but I'm here to make everybody accountable, especially, you know, among so-called black people. Make y'all see what it is. In early 2023, the black unemployment rate was at a historically low levels. Since then, the rate has continued to outspace the national average. The most recent report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed a national unemployment rate of 3.9, while, of course, the black unemployment rate stood at 5.6, the highest among all races, with the unemployment rate of black men steadily rising. So, black men are still ass out, right? Um, and even though it did drop from, what was it saying, 9.2 to 5.6, which is a drop, I will give them that. Um, but it still didn't address. It still hasn't addressed the fact that black people are still always higher unemployed. So let's look at this. While Biden took office, inflation increased every month. That's something we got to look at, and we're gonna look at that again when we compare Trump uh, record. So it says, except during the months of 2021, look at the promise. Okay, so climate jobs, promises made. One of the four key components of President Joe Biden's campaign was putting America back in the business of leading the world on climate change. And to do that, he said he'd bring an economy up to him by creating 10 million good paying jobs, right? Now, I want to stop right here because now we're talking about climate, and this kind of goes into this kind of is dealing with the Agenda 21. So he's going to make more jobs based on the Agenda 21. Okay. Just throwing that out there. But he said he was going to be creating 10 million good paying jobs and clean, right? Like I said, clean energy by 2030. So he's pushing that Agenda 21. Preliminary federal plans outline a 7% increase in jobs annually to achieve his goal, backed by 2 trillion climate spending plans. Where he gonna get that 2 trillion from? He gonna borrow it. You know he gonna borrow it. That's just more deficit, more debt on the American people. But I digress. I digress. So it says, when I think about climate change, he said on his campaign before he got elected, the word I think of is jobs. So climate change equals jobs. The work done. So near the end of his term, Biden's attention to increasing climate friendly jobs has not wavered, though the results are not fully clear. Ultimately, Biden's 2 trillion plan never made it through Congress. However, his administration has been able to pass 3 different major spending plans, which include climate related policies and programs. So basically, his whole thing about the jobs is not clear. It's vague. That's a political thing again. You really can't tell how good that has been for black people. Okay? So let's go on. Let's look at it. Black farmers. Black farmers, promise made. Campaign Trail of 2020 recognized the historical discrimination within the USDA programs and advised the agency to take more proactive and equitable approach to support the training and resources of farmers of color. One proposal included ensuring rural residents received equal access to government farm programs. So, what's the work been done? Only months in Biden's term, he signed an American Rescue Plan Act, which included $4 billion debt relief program for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers, which included blacks, Native American, Hispanic, and Asian communities. The program would have offered up to 120% of outstanding indebtedness. In June 2021, the same month, the USD planned to start loan payments to eligible borrowers. A judge issued a restraining order on the program in result to a lawsuit brought up by a group of white farmers alleging that the debt relief program racially discriminated against them. Oh, of course they did, right? Of course they did. Anything to keep the progression of others, down. Oh, they're they're going to be equal, and that's not fair. It's not fair that they get this, and that's going to make them equal or better than us. So this halted Biden's effort to address historical inequities and funding disparities by the USDA. So with that being said, I'm not going to blame Biden for that. Okay, I'm not going to blame Biden because I can see that the power structure was going against that. But it says rather than implementing the existing loan forgiveness program, the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed into law last year, replaced it with 2.2 billion discriminating financial assistance program for all farmers and ranchers who experience discrimination through the USDA. All parties dismissed the lawsuit because the new program in the Inflation Reduction Act, black farmers frustrated with the USDA and the Biden administration filed a lawsuit hoping to get their promised relief. But the federal judge dismissed this case last summer. They have to know that this is a continuation of Jim Crow. So even though he tried to do this thing with the black farmers, and so I can't give Joe Biden. I'm not saying that he's all the way the fault of it, but he ain't come through with his plans. So he didn't really do that for black people. Voting rights and equality, the Voting Right Act. So here we go with the Voting Right Act. He in the speech outlining racial equity dimensions of a historical platform. Biden noted the importance of defending access to the ballot box. He echoed the sentiments a month later in the 55th anniversary of President Lyndon B. Johnson's signing of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, one of the crown jewels of the civil rights movement, into law. So, what work did Biden do? Biden's effort to make a real progress on the voting rights free has been slow going. You hear that? Slow going. In part because the legislation to his desk been virtually impossible. Democrats enjoyed only a slim majority in the U.S. Senate, and then they lost that majority in 2022 midterm elections. So as a result, much of the battle to secure access to the franchise has played out at the state level and at the U.S. Supreme Court. For instance, in a surprise decision, the High Court last June upheld the Voting Right Act, which protects against racial vote delusion. So, still, it isn't to say that the president has done nothing to bolster rights. So, he signed into law overhauling the 1887 Electoral Count Act in response to the siege of the Capitol. So, I don't, y'all got to tell me what that's going to really do. Okay? You got to tell me what's that really going to do for us. All right. So, like what I'm saying, like I'm not sure exactly what that's doing for the people. You know what I mean? I know we are an hour in, y'all. We are an hour in, and man, I'm just getting started. So you know, y'all gotta bear with me. I'm trying to get through this though. It's a lot. This is a lot. I've been wanting to do this for a minute. So, but like I said, I don't see what that has done much against it. That's more of a political counteraction against the MAGA extremists or the really against the right. So to me, it's not really showing a lot. So now let's look at the LGBTQ rights. Promises made. Rights haven't figured prominently in the survey about Black election priorities, but to use today's parlance, they matter. Okay, so Republican lawmakers across the U.S. passed and introduced record number anti-LGBTQ bills this year. Okay, numerous times on the campaign trail, Biden said that passing legislation protecting the LGBTQ Americans, and particularly the Equality Act, which would be priority should he win the White House. Biden has long had a fierce support in the community, given that in 2012, as vice president, he backed the same sex marriage even before former President Barack did. So this really doesn't pertain to melanated people per se. Okay, Biden did triumph, of course, in his victory address, embracing the LGBTQ Americans. So what's the work that's been done? Passing the Equality Act has hit a snag. Given the Democrats control only a chamber of Congress, Biden has advanced the LGBTQ rights in other ways. So, eh, it's been a little work. He said he appealed the ban on transgender military service. So, you allow LGBTQ people to be in the military. Um, the Department of Veterans announced that it would be expanding support for transgender veterans. None of this right here is really for melanated people. Okay, like I said, no offense to the LGBTQ community. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this really doesn't affect them, melanated people, in that way. But he did do something for them in that way. The diversity on the bench. So what did he do? He had, with the death of Ruth Bader in 2020, you had others experience. He also picked those with experience as public defenders and civil rights legal aid, and election to voting rights lawyers. So okay, so he did that. Um, so what work has he done? In March, 190 judicial nominees have been confirmed by the Senate. In addition to the 41 circuit, 146 district court lifetime appointments was the historical nomination of Ketanji Brown Jackson as the first black woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. Also tied the number to confirm LGBTQ judges and broke the record of appointing more black judges in one term than any other president in history. So I give him that. I give him that. He's elected more, what we call so-called minorities to judicial positions. Okay, affordable health care promises made that he would continue lowering insurance premiums. The Inflation Reduction Act was a critical piece of legislation addressing the cost of prescription drugs. So, with the help of that, he has been able to lower, I guess, the prescription drugs. Another provision limits those on Medicare for spending more than $2,000 for certain drugs. Promises made. The Biden administration committed to protecting black maternal health, largely championed by Kamala Harris, the vice president, who has promised to address the crisis through improved maternal health care infrastructure and access. So, what work has been done? Now, this is what Biden doesn't have enough congressional votes to codify Roe, but in the months since, he's taken steps to protect access for reproductive health care, including calling on the Supreme Court to stop restrictions on medication abortion from taking effect. So, I mean, like, okay, y'all tell me how much is that really helping? Rural hospitals, cancer, work done. I don't want. For the sake of time, I can't go through all this. I'm trying to find the main key points. Criminal justice reform. The promise made that following George Floyd, right? Congress crafted large police reform bill. Biden pledged to sign the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act as soon as it passed the Senate, and he proposed creating a police oversight commission. So work done. More than 2 years after Biden's presidency, the Floyd Act is still floundering in Senate, despite Biden's repeated calls to Congress to pass it, and plans for a commission have been put on hold. Now let's look at what he did, because I mean, we talk about this, you know, Senate. A lot of things get, political stuff happens when you got two opposing parties in the Senate. So a lot of what he hasn't been able to do, they're going to say, hey, it's because the Senate won't pass it. You got the majority. You don't have the majority of Democrats to pass it, and all these type of things. So what has he done from an executive order? It says in 2022, 2 years after Floyd's death, Biden signed a police accountability executive order, which required federal law enforcement agencies to ban chokeholds, restrict no knock warrants, and mandate the use of body worn cameras, implement stronger use of force policies, okay, including the duty to intervene and duty to render medical aid. Though it says though Biden can't order local and state law enforcement agencies to comply with these orders, these are incentives for agencies to have and will make these changes. So I don't know. That to me, what that sounds like is it's just a lot of air, hot talk. It's a lot of talk, which is what we do find liberals to do. A lot of talk. A lot of talk. Clemency. Now we ain't gonna. I don't even got time to get into this, but I am going to sidebar real quick because we talk about Trump as if he's the racist guy in the room, but we haven't looked at jumping Joe Biden's the crime bill that he was part of, the 1994 crime bill that increased the incarceration of Black and Latino people. So we know Joe Biden has been in politics for a long time, and in that time, he's done more detrimental things to Black people that he really wants to give, that he wants to talk about. Okay, so I just want to sidebar. Y'all look up the 1994 crime bill. Y'all look up Biden's participation. So, as he says, to address the mistake of supporting it, right? So, within Biden's first 2 years, he broke away from the long streak of presidents who didn't use their executive powers to grant clemency pardons. Okay, so he granted 75 nonviolent drug offenders, pardoned 3 federally incarcerated people. April is now known as the Second Chance Month. He pardoned simple marijuana possessions, okay, and things of that nature. Okay, so we're not gonna get into climate infrastructure and all this stuff, but y'all know what it is. So we kind of covered things, and you can kind of see what Biden has really done. Like, I mean, not to say that he hasn't allegedly tried, but when Black people, so-called Black people, talk about how much Biden has done for Blacks, I'm really not seeing a lot that he's necessarily done and the changes in America. Like under Biden's administration, I don't see a lot of change. So it goes back to what Malcolm was saying about how white liberals really move, right? So let's look at this. So let's look at our boy Trump, because Trump is a trip. Now we know, like I said, now I'm not here to tell y'all to vote for Trump because Trump is a trip. You understand what I'm saying? Trump is a trip, but I do want to talk about this. Let's look at this. It says right here. Now, this is Trump talking. Now, but let's look at what Trump has done for Black people. Trump has Trump has done more for African Americans than Biden. This is what they said. This is in 2019. So this is before Trump got in the office. So we're gonna look at what, I mean, not Trump got, but before Biden got in the office. Let's kind of look at what Trump allegedly has done for Black people while he was in office, because the whole liberal agenda is, oh, Trump's a racist. He hasn't done anything for Black people. But as a liberal, I've done all these things. As that's the sentiment that I get. Let's look at this. So let's look at how this looked. Joe Biden is basing his entire candidacy on a discredited lie, trying to make Trump seem like a racist so that Biden can present himself as some sort of anti racist candidate. And I say this is true, and I think it's worked. This is what I'm saying about black people. Black people just kind of like they have allowed liberal media to brainwash them into believing certain things. So let's look at it. It said this is furthest from the truth. Furthest from the truth. In the video announcing his candidacy for a Democratic presidential nomination, Biden has cherry picked a partial quote from remarks the president made in the immediate aftermath of the Charlottesville riots, stripped of its context and presented it as evidence that Trump has called neo Nazis fine people. And I'm going to tell you, man, the media played a major part in how we have perceived Trump. Now, like I said, I'm not saying Trump is a trip. Trump is a trip. But I like to make my own understanding of Trump based on the factual things, not what the media has smeared him to be. So it says that's a load of malarkey, and Biden knows it. It's become President Trump. It's because President Trump also said that neo Nazis and white supremacists should be condemned totally. And I have heard Trump say that. I mean, he basically said that. And to keep it real, Trump really doesn't. He doesn't bite his tongue. Like he says what he wants to say. Like he doesn't really care if it makes sense or if it offends or not. So I mean, for him to say he's against neo Nazis and white supremacists, for him to say it, I mean, he's saying it. I can't, you know, the fine people he was referring to are ordinary Americans on both sides who felt passionately enough about the civic issues to demonstrate peacefully on behalf of their views. Unfortunately, Biden's assertions are perfectly in line with the Democratic Party strategy of trying to inflame racial division. You hear, which conservative dynamo Candace Owens brilliantly exposed last month. And see, a lot of people don't like Candace Owens, and I'm not saying that I'm a big fan of Candace, but y'all are so, black people are so shallow in what, like, they give Biden a pass on racial stuff, but they condemn others for what they say. And I say you gotta condemn them all. You gotta look at all of it. And the liberals will the liberals. This is the good thing. What Malcolm X was saying about the liberals. This is what they do. They make themselves look like they're the good guy, and they create racial division in order to monopolize on that. There's two central lies within Biden's launch video. The first is that Trump has had a negative impact on the black community. The second is that Biden could do better. Let's say in reality, though, President Trump has done more for black Americans in just over 2 years than Biden has done in 5 decades of public official. So let's look at what they saying Trump has done now. Okay, first and foremost, black unemployment rate is now the lowest point in history due to the large part of the presidential efforts. Not only has America First agenda unleashed a historical economic boom, especially for blue collar Americans, but Trump has also made it the priority to stop illegal immigration, which has disproportionately detrimental effects on the safety and the wages of black workers. Now, let's say this. A lot of times when we do bring in foreigners, uh, immigrants, they are going to take the job because, you know, so-called white people ain't giving up their jobs. So who going to lose their job? Like when people come in, when you get an influx in the population and people try to take jobs, who going to lose their jobs? I'm just saying, what y'all think about that? Who going to lose their job? The other problem with Biden's claim, hold on. For over the past 27 months, black employment has increased by nearly 1 million jobs. And this administration policy boosting support for black owned small businesses and historically black colleges and universities will help build on those gains. The other problem with Biden claim is they can that he can top Donald Trump as the best candidate for black America is that he's going to have to run against his own record. The bipartisan First Step Act that Trump championed was in large part an effort to alleviate the mass black incarceration created by the 1994 crime bill. So we just talked about previously what Biden, which was part of that crime bill, he tried to change it by, pardoning people and changing things. But shit, Trump already did that. Trump had already started that before Biden got in office. And what does Biden promise black voters apart from unwarranted fear mongering among white supremacist threats? See, and that's the thing. I felt like the media created a climate of racial tension in the country. And I'm not gonna get into all this, but George Soros played a major part in creating chaos in America. And we don't know anything about that. We ain't talked about that. Black people don't know nothing about it. But when Trump was in office, and I ain't saying now, listen, I'm not saying Trump was the greatest at, bringing America together because he really wasn't. And I've been very critical of Trump in those ways. But there was an underlining movement to create racial tension in America in order to use it against the Republican Party. And the Democratic Party definitely used that against them. So what was it? He says he was just offering the same policies that have failed Black America for decades. So Biden, according to this, Biden is doing the same thing that Malcolm X was talking about for decades. This is the same thing Malcolm X was saying about the white liberal. High immigration, high taxes, fake compassionate, dead end handouts, and offer no way out and up. The distance between today's Democratic Party for the legacy of Martin Luther King is wide and growing, and Biden has been a canary in the coal mine for years. Biden will not make good on the reconciliatory check prophesied by my uncle. In 1970, Biden even opposed the use of busing to integrate public schools. And his instincts doesn't seem to have improved since then. It says, remembering his patronizing description of Barack Obama as the first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and nice looking guy. What the heck does that mean? Y'all be letting y'all let all this stuff by with Biden. That's what killed me. Y'all let him say all this crap and y'all don't say nothing about it. He's the lesser of the two evils. Man, get out of here. Does anyone remember that the Republican Party broke these chains? And that's the thing that I'm not even going to have time to get into that. But I do want y'all to remember, it was the Republican Party that got rid of slavery. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. The people who were opposing Abraham Lincoln was that guy. Abraham Lincoln was spoiled by when he died. He had a Democratic vice president, Johnson, which Johnson, the Democrat, got rid of all of the plans that Lincoln wanted to do. The Reconstruction and everything was dismantled by Democrats. Okay? So it says throughout the decades of politics, those sorts of demeaning remarks are pretty much the only thing Biden has offered black Americans. So I'm just saying, like, Biden didn't have a great track record coming into this, but because Trump was so demified, you know, it's like, it's crazy. You understand what I'm saying? But so, I'm just making a mention that we have been somehow, things have been changed and turned around. The Democrats are now your friends, and the Republicans are your enemy. And I don't, we got flipped around. So I don't know what's going on with that. Why we are so fond of the Democratic Party now. I mean, you can give me historical elements on why, because of FDR and a lot of the programs, and then we go into the '60s with Kennedy and uh, Lyndon B. Johnson and the Civil Rights Movement, and it was those Democrats that gave civil rights the opportunity. So I can see why, but we're looking at 2024, in the 2020s, and we're looking at what we're dealing with. We're looking at, like, despite what the Democratic Party has done, we we're not looking at what is going on. We haven't looked at the agendas. We haven't looked at the agenda of the Democratic Party. We haven't looked at it. We get trapped in the little things. Oh, this and that about Biden. Like it's tokenism. It's tokenism. I don't think that he showed anything better even as right now. Is he a better president than Trump has been? I don't know. Both of them are not the best thing for us. I and I'm here to say that Joe Biden is not the lesser of the two evils. What if both of them are equally evil? Then what are you going to say? How do we deal with that? Right? I'm just saying. So let's look, because y'all, let's keep going. Y'all talk about how Trump is so racist and compared to Biden. This is what my elders say. They say how racist he is. What about both of them racist? What about all the presidents is racist? Every president we know has been racist, with maybe the exception of Barack Obama. I'm going to exclude him from it. That's for another video another day. But every other president besides Barack Obama, we can't even argue about it. So let's look at Biden's history of getting away with racist remarks. Why do you guys give him a pass? Joe Biden has decade-long habit of making overtly racist remarks, taking discriminatory position, and what's this? Cavorting with known racists. So it's like Trump over here, he's been linked to known racists, right? We can say that. They put Trump known racist things in the spotlight, but they don't put Joe Biden in the spotlight. That ain't telling y'all something? That is not telling you something? Biden is almost certainly unaware of what he's saying and has simply repeated what a liberal on his staff has instructed him to say. So that's that BS. So you got a guy who's unaware, and that's another thing. You guys, the dude is pretty much tapped out. Joe Biden is pretty much, his tank is pretty much dry. So is that what y'all gonna use as an excuse? Oh, Joe Biden is crazy, so he might say some things. Joe Biden, who has a lifetime of them, is now president. On some days, in some ways, it must be good to be on the left. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. Um, let's look at it. I'm trying to find some more evidence emerges that the media is on Team Biden. And see, this is what I'm trying to get y'all to understand too. The media is rolling with Biden. So because the media is for Biden, y'all don't even get the right news. Y'all stuck on MSNBC. Y'all stuck on CNN. Then you got like CBS and ABC, and the people always like was talking about Trump and how bad he was and making fun of him all the time. Do they make do let me ask y'all this. Do the media make as much fun about Biden? Like did the media make as much fun about Biden falling off his bike? Biden all the little stuff he does. Do they make the same um make fun of him like they did Trump? Y'all tell me. Y'all put it in the comment section. I already know y'all gonna be tripping in the comment section. Okay. It says this. Now, this is one thing right here. It says just 3%, like the word Latinx. He's like Latinx. He uses that term, which is seeming like it's a racist term. Just 3% of Latinos use that term to describe themselves. Biden, being unaware, keeps using it. Now, it says, let's look at this right here, because this applies to melanated people. He says they used to be experimenting on the Tuskegee Airmen and others, Biden said. In this, he confused legendary World War II fighter pilot with a long, notorious governmental study of syphilis among black men in the Tuskegee experiment. It doesn't take much effort to imagine the media reaction if Donald Trump had mangled that up, right? That's what I'm saying. They don't do that to Biden. Examples dating back to his campaign of president. So on Charlemagne the God's popular morning show, Biden infamously asserted, and everybody know this, and largely black audience that if you unsure whether to vote for him or Trump, then you ain't black. You ain't black. That's how he said it too. So he mocking y'all. Y'all, you ain't black if you don't vote for me. Then August 2020, Biden told a gathering of black and Hispanic journalists that unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitude about different things. What's that mean, Biden? Taken together, these statements clearly suggest that Biden believes that all black people think alike. In the same interview, responding to the question of whether he had taken a cognitive test, Biden angrily fired back with the suggestion that the black reporter was a drug addict. I'm going to tell you something. Joe Biden is not. Joe Biden is just as racist as Trump is. Okay? To put these words into Mitch McConnell's mouth and try to envision how long. Okay, hold on. Let me go my fault. It says that, like you said, like it says that's like you said before you got in this program, you take a test whether you're taking cocaine or not, Biden said. What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie? The stuff that come out of his mouth. In 2007, he referred to Barack Obama as the first mainstream African American who's articulate, bright, and clean. What the hell does that mean? In 2006, he said you cannot go to 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. So let's go back. How far? Way back. Way back. He said that forcing busing to desegregate schools would cause his children to grow up in a what? Racial jungle. Huh? Is that not right? Like, my thing is this. Do you think Joe Biden has a change of heart? Do you think that he was like Paul in the Bible who got knocked off his horse and seen a bright light of Jesus and it changed? Do you think that Joe Biden has changed? Do you guys want to look at it for what it is? Is he any better than Trump? No. But I'm not here to just get on Biden, right? I'm not on here just to get on Biden. Let's look at Trump. Donald Trump was accused of racism long before his presidency, despite what On Life post claimed. So online, so we look, we can say claim Donald Trump was never called a racist until he ran for president, and that's false. We know that's false. Okay, and I know Trump got a whole bunch of mountain stuff, like all this stuff that they got him on. Man, screw all that, man. We're not even talking about that right now. We're gonna go back. Donald Trump was never called a racist until he ran for president against Hillary Clinton. The text around the image, but that's not true, y'all. But there's ample evidence showing that Trump has been called out for bigotry, racism throughout the decades. So we got to go back on him. Let's go back, way back. For example, 1973. So this was like what, 4 years before 1977 Joe Biden's statement. So all them cats come from a racist climate. It says that the Department of Justice, the Justice Department, sued him and his father for alleged refusal to rent apartments to predominantly white buildings to black tenants. Testimony showed that applicants filed by black apartment seekers were marked with a C for colored. Lawsuits ended in a settlement in which Trump allegedly they failed and neglected to comply with the Fair Housing Act. They were never required to explicitly acknowledge discrimination had occurred. But we know he was. We know it was. In 1989, Trump infamously took out, calling out the 5 black and Latino teenagers that were alleged to have raped that white woman in Central Park. So he goes. So y'all know about that, right? So the clergy came out one denouncing him. Okay, so that's known. In 1990, the Atlantic City Casino Mongo about the legitimacy of tribes seeking to build casinos in the New York area cited that their dark skin as evidence that they are faking their ancestry. So I mean, that's ignorant. That's ignorance. Trump does show ignorance as well. But these two guys seem to be of the same coin. They're very similar in their their mishaps. You know, they say things that are very unbecoming, both of them. And for us to focus on Trump and not Biden is just preposterous to me. Okay? It's preposterous. Why are we voting for these clowns? Okay? They don't look Indian to me. They don't look like Indians or Indians. A lot of people are laughing at it. Trump said I can't say the Native American name though. It says who operated the Foxwoods Resort Casino in Connecticut in '93. So they called them out. They called them as racist, which they those can be considered racist. Okay. So I mean, you can see that Trump's done these things too. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not here to jump on Trump's side, which I think a lot of people have thought that. Including some of my elders. My elders, which much I love them to death, but if I criticize Biden, they automatically say I'm for Trump. Now, like I said, I'm not going to give my total opinion on either side because I want you guys to just look at it for what it is. Okay, so I want to look at this too because, like, I think I skipped this. I need to go back because I want to talk more about because this whole notion that um, that Biden has done more for black people than Trump has. And I'm trying to find where. We've already looked at a little bit of what he's supposed to have done, and he hasn't done it. If y'all showing me something, please put in a comment what he's done. That's concrete. One of the things that has been mentioned to me, and I've had to look it up, is the anti-lynching bill. That I'm gonna say the anti-lynching bill is probably the biggest thing that he's done not even like legislatively. Probably Biden's biggest legislative win is probably the anti-lynching bill 2022. So let's start with that because let's look at that. The anti-lynching bill. Now, it sounds like when you look at it from when you hear it, it sounds good. This anti-lynching bill has been something they've been trying to pass for freaking 100 years. So let's look at this. On Tuesday, Joe Biden signed into law that classifies lynching as a federal hate crime. So that sounds good, right? Punishable by 30 years in prison. Though Biden emphasized the significance of this legislation during the ceremony and praised its broad support, which he did get a lot of support from Democrats and Republicans. The bill's path to approval has been fraught. It has taken more than 100 years and 200 attempts for proponents to achieve victory. Okay? It's the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill. Y'all know who Emmett Till was. Y'all know what happened. The 14-year-old boy that was kidnapped, brutally beaten, and then shot by the mob of white men in Mississippi in '55 before they threw him in the river. Allows allows an act to be prosecuted by lynching when a person conspires to commit a hate crime and results in death, seriously bodily injury, and other serious harms. So the anti-lynching bill sounds great. Now, my first thing that it came into my mind is we talk about lynching. We very rarely see lynching today. Like there's not much lynching in that form. Now don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of violence of whites against blacks, particularly police officers. My question would be, does this cover the police officer when he does it? I doubt it seriously. I don't even know, but I doubt it. I doubt police officers are under this anti-lynching bill. It would be very difficult to convict a police officer on this. And for the rest of everybody else, you don't hear a lot of lynching. Not, and I like I said, I'm not saying there is not any lynching, but there's way less lynching going on now than it was in the 1900s. A lot less. Like it was really needed in the 1900s, and they wouldn't pass it when it was very much needed. But over a hundred some years later, they want to pass the anti-lynching bill. But I digress. Okay, I'm not going to take. I'm not. I'm putting it in perspective. Now let's look at this next paragraph because this is what I'm going to deal with. It says that the bill's passage is long overdue. No shit. But its arrival still has an important, listen to this word. It has an important symbolic power and will give federal prosecutors enough tools to prosecute some of the country's most brutal hate crimes. In other words, the act builds on the severity of the federal hate crime laws that already exist. So we already got hate crimes. We already got law for hate crimes. They said this has symbolic power. This is symbolic. Okay? So, once again, this goes back to what Brother Malcolm said about how liberals use things that seem symbolic or they give you the appearance. Okay? It's just symbolism. It's just, this is like, it gives so called black people hope of something. Okay? Lynching is a clear example of one inhumanity toward another. We know that. Blah, blah, blah. So, how has the anti-lynching bill in the law, how much has it affected black people since it's been put into place? I just looked at an article today where there's a black farm that the people are harassing them, hate crimes. They burning their flag, their Black Lives Matter flags. They are killing their cattle, their animals. They're doing all kind of things, destroying their property. And they said that this is considered a hate crime. Is this anti-lynching law going to help them? Has it helped them? I didn't hear anything about the anti-lynching law in that article at all. So I just wonder, like, when we talk about what he did for us, is this what we're talking about? That's all. I just want to know. Y'all let me know in the comments. I'm pretty sure. Okay. So let me look at what else do we have that we want to discuss? Because there are a few other things going on. I'm getting pretty much to the end of this though, but I did have one more thing to look at. Well, a couple more things, and we're done. We're looking at this, the American Presidency Project, talking about Trump. So we're looking at what Trump's done. The Trump campaign press released facts. The President Trump policies have delivered for Black Americans. So let's see what he's done. Let's see what this conservative side or the Republican side has done. Um, President Trump signed into law the historical First Step Act into law. I don't know how many people even heard of that. 90% of those who have had their sentences reduced are Black Americans. So, okay. The First Step Act shortened mandatory minimum sentences on nonviolent drug crimes. Okay. The law allows offenders sentencing under racially motivated mandatory minimums to petition and revaluation. President Trump launched the Ready to Work initiative, which helped released prisoners gain meaningful employment. Also proposed a Second Step Act, which he proposed, so it didn't get done. Black Americans are seeking unprecedented levels of economic success and record low unemployment. We talked about that. President Trump called on Congress to pass school choice. Now, I don't think this is a good idea. We talked about school choice. The school choice legislation is not really going to help American children in the inner cities. I don't think it is. So I'm not going to give him that plot. Uh, President Trump restored funding and increased investment for historical black colleges and universities by 14%. The Trump administration provided more than 500 million in loans to HBCUs through the Capital Financing Program. Trump also worked with HBCUs to protect 80 million in Title II carryover funding. President Trump signed the Future Act into law, which permanently funds HBCUs and simplifies the FAFSA application. I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. I never heard none of this stuff that Trump did. They definitely downplayed it. They definitely downplayed what he's done. They downplay what he's done, and then they try to upplay you on what Biden's done. And when we looked at what Biden has done, it really hasn't been a lot. And a lot of what he did was building off of Trump. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to give Trump the thing, but what I'm saying is that I gotta bring it back into focus, y'all. If y'all gonna look at voting, stop talking about the lesser two evils. Stop trying to tell me that Biden is the lesser of the two evils. These guys are equally the same. If y'all want to say they're evil, then they're equally evil. If you want to look at the parties, we already looked at the parties. If y'all want to look at the parties, you see what the parties is doing. Both parties is in the end goal of the New World Order. So are we gonna continue down this road dealing with these presidents and what they've done? You see what I'm saying? Are we gonna do that? Because I want to know. We all want to know. Okay. So I mean, there's some more things that we could discuss on, but for the sake of time, I know you guys, you know, don't like watching long videos, and this video is long enough, right? So, with that being said, I'm going to end this. We're almost at 2 hours, right? But I'm gonna end this, and this is the last vision y'all see. Is this the left and the right working together against your ass? The right and the left is working against you. Okay? So y'all can participate in this foolishness if you want to. And you can say, oh, Biden is better than Trump. And you can get mad at the blacks that want to go with Trump. Y'all want to have these fake debates against each other about president. Y'all don't know nothing about either side. Y'all can go back and watch this video. Y'all can dissect it. Y'all can do your own research and figure out what's really going on for yourself instead of being guided to what you should believe based on liberal media. All right? So with that being said, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.